Just a second and a six. It's hard to say that the Chargers didn't win this.
I just feel like this was definitely a direct response to the Russell Wilson news. Man, the AFC West is about to be a bloodbath.
LA Chargers, it was like last weekend, right? I believe. Last weekend, made the trade with the Chicago Bears, trading Khalil Mack for a second and sixth round pick. I think that's the bigger surprise, ended up being the bigger surprise to me. But yeah, John, once again, thoughts, reactions as to when this released.
I think it was pretty. I don't know when it was in
like
relation
Thursday
to the
or
Russell
Friday.
Wilson trade.
It was like later in the week.
I know it was after the Russell Wilson trade, but I can't remember like how far it was. But I remember it was somebody in one of our group texts was saying like, man, the AFC West is about to be a bloodbath. And things have only escalated since then. But with this trade, I just feel like this was definitely a direct response to the Russell Wilson news, because you're going to have to go against Patrick Mahomes and now Russell Wilson.
It was Thursday.
Thursday, okay.
March 10th.
So you're going to have to go against Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson 4 times this next year. So, you know, how are you going to stop those guys? Go get another guy who can rush the passer. We know the Chargers already have Joey Bosa. You get his partner in crime now, Khalil Mack. I was a bit surprised at the fact that the trigger was pulled before free agency, because I mean, just this free agent class had a lot of big-time pass rushers
Chandler
that I felt
Jones,
like,
Von
Chandler
Miller,
Jones,
Hassan
Randy
Reddick.
Gregory, Von Miller, like all these kind of guys that are very similar price points in terms of contract. Like Khalil Mack is not cheap when it comes to how much he's making per year. So I was a bit surprised at that they pulled the trigger so early, because, you know, maybe there was a market heating up for Khalil Mack behind the scenes. They would know if that was to happen. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I did think that maybe they would have taken a shot at somebody in free agency first. But obviously they went out, they did the trade. I think it was a great move for the Chargers, just because there's no better time to go all in and win now than when your quarterback's on his rookie contract. And we just saw what Joe Burrow and the Bengals are able to do. Why can't the Chargers do that? So I think it was a great move in the fact that they're willing to part with draft capital, because they know they have a lot of core pieces. They just need a few other guys. Khalil Mack, he fills a major hole in that opposite side of Joey Bosa to basically give them actual production on that side since Melvin Ingram left. So I was a fan of the trade for the Chargers. For the Bears, I think it was a decent return at the point that Khalil Mack is at in his career, but based on the price tag that they paid to get him only 3 years ago, it pales in comparison. They traded a lot to land Khalil Mack. They were not incredibly competitive during his time there. I mean, they did make the playoffs twice, but they weren't really able to make much noise in the postseason. That's obviously not his fault. The defense was great while he was there. But yeah, I think that the Khalil Mack deal for Chicago looks like it was a botched deal now, the one that they did with the Raiders. So I think it makes sense for them, because I don't think they're in a win now position. So you might as well get value out of him while it still has it, because to be honest, Khalil Mack is getting older. He is declining. But yeah, so I guess I like the deal for both sides. I don't know what his true value would have been, but a second and a six just doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah, I thought that's, like I said, I already led to, is that I was surprised he only went for a six in the second, and that the Chargers kept their first.
Yeah.
I thought if anything, and once again, like you already alluded to, kind of breaking news. Like there wasn't like much murmur that Khalil Mack was even available. It just kind of just happened. I think that was bigger part of the surprise. But yeah, just a second and a six. It's hard to say that the Chargers didn't win this, but I mean, we'll see. Maybe the Bears get someone great there. And like you mentioned too, the timelines are just different. You know, Chargers are, like you mentioned, it's a great move. I think he has 3 years left on his contract. So although it may be expensive, you're only paying Herbert his rookie deal for the next 2 years, and then the 5th year option. Even then, that's only like I think around like $15 million. So it's still not like the price that some of these other quarterbacks, like Kirk Cousins, you know, who got his extension, who I think we can all say Herbert is better than Kirk Cousins right now, but different price tag. So yeah, I love the move for the Chargers. It's Bosa on one side and Khalil Mack on the other side, and Khalil also a very solid run defender as well as good. I mean, he may not be the pass rusher he was back in with the Raiders, but he's still a very good one. And maybe he kind of has a resurgence now too, having a Joey Bosa on the other side. Because I mean, it wasn't until really last year. I mean, maybe he had Robert Quinn and Leonard Floyd, but those guys are more balanced. They're more of like they're not as good of edge threats as a Joey Bosa per se. And we know Brandon Staley, defensive head coach. Maybe he was thinking about how they couldn't stop the Raiders and that overtime on the run. And said, hey, we got to address that, and we also got to get after Patrick Mahomes and now Russell Wilson in our division. So, yeah, love the trade, mainly for the Chargers, and we'll see what the Bears can do with the draft picks because just once again, like you mentioned, in hindsight, with the Raiders, did they really capitalize on that trade either? I mean, they got Josh Jacobs, but I think one of those guys, one of their picks was Damon Arnett, I believe. That didn't work out. So it's all about if you can make the capital work. So we'll see what the Bears can do with that capital.